And we're now joined on our live line, our Newsmaker line, with Assemblyman Joe Giglio. Assemblyman, thank you for phoning in.
Oh, thank you for having me, Brian. I appreciate the chance to talk to you.
Assemblyman Giglio, big news of the day as far as the COVID-19 reopening goes is that Steuben County and Steuben County and Livingston County were announced as being able to reopen, but Allegheny County was not. Now, yesterday we had Assemblyman Philipp Lahm Asanos on the line, and we asked him about that, and that was before this news was announced. Here was his prediction on that situation.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the concern a lot of us have, and a lot, especially from the southern tier region, Allegheny, Cattaraugus, Chautauqua County. When you look at their infection rates and the number of cases they have, they're very limited. There's not that many of them, but they're tied into the Buffalo, Erie County Regional Economic Development Council region, and the governor keeps talking about doing these by regions, and I think it would be unfortunate if those Allegheny County, Cattaraugus County, Chautauqua County get lumped in with Erie County, which is not ready to open by the criteria, just and get held back just because those areas where we're not that close to. Allegheny County is not that close to Buffalo. I mean, Chautauqua County is a little bit, but Chautauqua County, for example, is closer to Ohio and Pennsylvania, which is opening up. So that doesn't make any sense that those counties should be, held back because Erie County and the city of Buffalo is really having the problem. So
I think, am I correct in saying, Assemblyman Joe Giglio, that Assemblyman Philipp Lahm Asanos' prediction pretty much hit the nail on the head yesterday?
Oh, unfortunately, yes, it did, and he is right about a bunch of things. And those of us from this part of the southern tier are battling to make sure we're considered as individual counties and actually as a region, all the way across to all of our districts from Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny and Steuben. It's all on the PA state line. The fact of the matter, when you look at Erie County numbers and Niagara County numbers, although we regionally and economic developmentally, they put us in that group, the facts of the matter is that with this epidemic, with COVID-19, pandemic, we do not fit in with them at all. So I believe it's kind of arbitrary to try to do it that way. Our numbers across these districts, Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, Allegheny, Steuben, all of them are at real low numbers. Our percentages of people that have been sick are very, very low in relation to our total population. Our hospitals have more than enough capacity. We are not that densely populated. Social distancing is not difficult for us. So we don't have any of the apparent problems that happened up north. Although, Chautauqua and Cattaraugus pretty much border Erie County all the way, so does Genesee and Orleans and other counties, Niagara and Erie, where you have the biggest outbreaks. And included with that outbreak is most of them, I believe the Erie County was citing over 50% of them were in nursing homes. So I think that to do it that way is a mistake. I believe that we're more than ready to open in the 148th district. I think the whole southern tier is ready to open. As we argue many times on the floor, we're more intersected with Pennsylvania than we are with Connecticut and or Massachusetts and or New Jersey. So let us handle what we need to handle down here. If you look at us again, the numbers show that we're more than ready. Our hospital capacity isn't even close to full, so they're ready there. Our emergency workers have done an awesome job at this. Everybody, and our nurses and our doctors, everybody's done good. And I also believe, Brian, that our citizens are very responsible with their actions. This isn't going to be like, grade school kids let out of school and all of a sudden they're going to run outside and forget to do everything else about school. No, they'll be very socially responsible. These are smart folks. And economically, we'll be ready to go, and we need to get going. As long as we're safe, as long as they continue the testing, I'll believe in that metric. I'm not saying go out there and go crazy, but we're ready for phase one, no doubt about it.
We had on Steuben County District Attorney Brooks Baker also on the Newsmaker show yesterday, and he indicated that drug dealing is on the increase, and the arrests are showing and indicating that the the drug dealers are selling larger quantities. He attributed that to a couple of things. One, everybody's home. A lot of people are not working, falling back into addiction problems. But also, the district attorney said that a big problem was that people with drug issues, also like everybody else, and drug dealers like everybody else, received the stimulus check, and we're spending it on the wrong things. So that I would think that that might be kind of a motivator to get people back to work. As far as Allegheny County goes, are the Republicans talking yet in terms of what can be done? And will you maybe approach Governor Cuomo as a group, as you have on other issues with bringing in Congressman Tom Reed and Senator O'Mara and others to do so?
We have worked closely as a group, led by Congressman Reed, who has kept us meeting on a weekly basis, if not more, if necessary, and kept us up to date on what's going on with the federal government. And our conversations have included exactly what you said. We will present a united front of why we think we can open. We will do it with facts and not emotion. We will show you the facts. And again, the numbers speak for themselves. The governor likes to say that all the time. He wants to talk about metrics. Well, look at our metrics. Our metrics are the best in the state of New York, if you include just us. Erie County and Erie County, again, have had their own problems, probably due to density and other things. And, and even though with that, I think their numbers have consistently come down. But if you look just at us, and again, Tom Reed, Congressman, has worked with everybody because there is a district around here that doesn't have a representative right now. So he has taken a leadership position to help all of us in this part of the state. And I thank him for that. And then the bottom line is, we're together, we're fighting, and we're going to make those kind of presentations to the governor's regional people and stuff like that, and to the governor himself. But we think, and again, going back to what he says all the time, the numbers are what he's going to judge by. If that's what they're going to judge by, we open on Friday.
We're talking with Assemblyman Joe Giglio, who represents parts of Steuben County, all of Allegheny County, and all of Cattaraugus County. Over at Cattaraugus County, Olean Way, how has that been as far as, it's so far away we don't cover it in our newscast. How is the Olean area and the surrounding areas in Cattaraugus County been for the COVID-19 situation?
Well, we've been obviously we've done real well. Only in general increased its capacity like they were supposed to. I don't believe there's ever been more than 4 or 5 people actually in the hospital at one time. The density issue again with a city like Olean isn't all that prominent. So actually, again, you look at our numbers; they're similar to Steuben's numbers, to Allegheny's numbers, to Chautauqua's numbers. Again, there's a consistency there. And it's simply because part of it is, one, we don't have density. Secondly, we have very responsible community and citizens that make sure they adhere to the rules. When you go back to what you just mentioned about the Steuben County DA talking about drugs, lawbreakers will continue to break the laws. They're not worried about pauses. They're not worried about reopening. They're worried about making a profit selling drugs and ruining people's lives. There's still you can't pretend that doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, it does because he pointed it out. So, looking at both sides of the coin, the illicit folks are still out there, but the honest folks are not.
Yes, also, and that was a very interesting interview that we did yesterday with the county DA, Brooks Baker. He also talked about the complications that we get from bail reform and some of the parole changes that Governor Andrew Cuomo put through. He mentioned that pretty much... unless it's a really, really serious thing, the parole, you're gone. Everybody's free to go as far as that situation goes. Did you have any thoughts on that, Assemblyman Joe Giglio?
Well, I do have a lot of thoughts on that. At some point, the promotion of lawlessness is getting more and more. The result of what was justice done by the courts is being undone by the executive branch. And I have a real problem with that, since there's supposed to be 3 branches of government and checks and balances. Secondly, if the governor talks about teachers and doctors and policemen and firemen because he wants money from the federal government, and I agree with him that the state should be getting some help from the feds because of what it's costing us with COVID, but nothing but COVID should be paid for. But you don't talk up police and fire and those kind of people that keep us secure, and at the same time have policies that make everybody put these individuals in more danger, and which bail reform did, especially for those rank and file law enforcement that are on the front lines and the DAs that have to try to get things done in a certain amount of time. When you look at what they've done to the system and you look at who they've paroled even before COVID, I question exactly how much commitment you have to keeping these communities safe and those that provide the security for us.
Yes, a lot of the upstate lawmakers and law enforcement agents who've been on talk about it being in terms of a one-size-fits-all problem. The New York City lawmakers are forcing on the rest of the state. Wondering, is your assembly office, Assemblyman Joe Giglio, still getting calls from people who are having problems getting through to the Department of Labor on their unemployment claims? This has been a problem almost since this COVID-19 situation began. Wondering, has that gotten any better or is it worse? How's that going, Assemblyman Giglio?
I have not seen it get any better. That is a predominant of a number of calls we keep getting. People are struggling. People are not getting the results from the Department of Labor. They've beefed up their labor force, and they keep telling us that this is going to get better. But I can tell you, Brian, that the things that we keep hearing about now people going on 8 weeks without any significant help and not knowing when and if the help is coming. I know they say that at some point they'll get everything they have, all the money they have coming to them. But what do they do in the meantime? How do they get from point A to point B? And then tie that in to what you talked about earlier: people drinking more, people turning to substances because the pressure is too great, because the state is not functioning the way it should. Now that we've been at it for 8 weeks, you would think it would be getting better, but I can tell you from what we've seen, it hasn't improved all that much, and I'm not sure, why the administration keeps saying, I give them credit for saying they're going to get it done. I give them credit for hiring more people, but the results still aren't there, and they're going to have to figure out a way to get them.
Yes, and on that topic of solving the problem, have the Republicans talked with each other on what can be done there about, and maybe the possibility, hiring even more people than they already have at the Department of Labor?
I'm sorry, Brian.
No, I'm sorry. Hiring more people at the Department of Labor, is that a possibility?
Well, yeah, I think it is until these people, until we meet the needs. I mean, again, in the department, nobody ever thought you could encounter something like this. So you're going to give them, you're going to have to show some patience, but we're beyond that. So now we're talking about how do you get them, through the system and actually get the unemployment checks flowing to them as they go through this. I mean, and the only way to do that is to either hire more people and or mechanize more, because you're going to have to get to these people, and you're going to have to help them. So you do have to beef it up, and I'm not sure. As we investigate, we don't always get all the information we would like from the executive branch. We hear a lot of the same things the public hears. We're doing this, we're doing that, it'll get better. And we'll take them at their word, but now it still hasn't really gotten much better. So you have to try something else to make sure that this job gets done.
We're talking with Assemblyman Joe Giglio. Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
What can you do when your world is turned upside down? When keeping yourself and your family healthy seems like a huge challenge? You act. You turn things right side up again. At UR Medicine, we've redesigned our whole approach to care to give you the access you need, the safety you expect, and the confidence to act now. A lot has changed, but one thing hasn't. Moving forward will take medicine of the highest order. Visit redesigned.urmc.edu.
If you own your own business and need garbage removal, contact Lippincotts. And if you live in a town where you have to take care of your own garbage removal, contact Lippincotts. If you need garbage dumpsters, Lippincotts rents them, and Lippincotts can come pick up the garbage too. These days, you don't throw old electronic items in the trash, and Lippincotts can remove your old electronics. Lippincotts, for garbage removal, recycling, hauling, removal of asbestos or electronic items. For a free quote, visit LippincottsRubbishInc.com. LippincottsRubbishInc.com.
Back with Assemblyman Joe Giglio this morning on this segment of Newsmaker. Assemblyman Giglio, a number of commentators and political talking heads have speculated that Governor Andrew Cuomo could in part be doing the daily briefings because he has presidential ambitions. What do you make of that scenario? Do you think that the governor will run? He said, I am not going to. Some people say maybe, maybe not. What are your thoughts there?
I'm of the opinion that he is keeping up this constant PR, if you will, and I do appreciate the briefings. Don't get me wrong, but when you get into the politics, when somebody keeps claiming it's not political, it's like somebody claiming they don't sign a contract about the money. It just makes one wonder what's going on. He would probably be their strongest candidate if he did get the nod, because I don't think Joe Biden is their strongest guy. But I mean, we can all speculate till the cows come home here. Who knows with him? He's a shrewd politician, and part of me thinks and then part of me thinks the system might have gone too far. But if they go to a brokered convention for any reason, he'd have a legitimate shot.
Do you see a Congressman Tom Reed getting into the situation with maybe a Reed for governor, or Reed on the Republican side versus Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul scenario if Governor Andrew Cuomo gets drafted to run for president?
Well, first thing, I would love the fact if Tom Reed decided to run for governor. I think he would be so good for the state of New York, and that we would move forward, especially our parts of the state, because somebody would recognize exactly what goes on here and the needs. If would that would be a big if in 2 years, if it would be Kathy Hochul or Andrew Cuomo, because God only knows. I don't think that they would win, even if he got the presidential nod. So that's speculation, but I do believe that Tom Reed would be an awesome candidate. Look at his record.
That would be a very interesting race. On the topic of Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, yesterday the Allegheny County Legislative Chair Kurt Crandall put out a statement saying that Allegheny County is working with Lieutenant Governor Hochul on reopening plans. Wondering if you're in the loop on that one, Assemblyman Joe Giglio, in terms of any inside info you can give us on as to when Western New York, the Western New York region, which includes Allegheny County, might be opened up.
Well, again, the problem is we're first trying to get to separation so it can open up by the after the pause is over on the 15th. So that's our first part of our agenda. That's what we're going to continue to work on. And if that doesn't work, the next step is the minute the metric hits, they should be able to open up. Now, County Executive Poloncarz has been quite optimistic. I shouldn't say quite but optimistic that they might even be able to reach those numbers by Friday, the 15th. But, in absence of that, we're still going to battle to open up with everybody else on the southern tier.
Are the governor's metrics, I was talking to a couple of local officials, they described them as kind of confusing, reading them over originally. Are the governor's metrics difficult to reach there in terms of the metrics, the requirements for reopening? Well, again, I wish you could see me smiling. Yes, they are. And I think that's purposeful that way. The bottom line is, when do the stats come out? When do we get them? How accurate are they? Because I believe that some of the counts in our counties in the southern tier
have been more inflated than actually happened, and not the same numbers that our health departments have sent out there. So there's always been some dispute about that. It just, my hope is that we hit those, that they get clearer as they go on, and they realize that, they opened up hospitals for elective surgery, not based on a region. They opened them up based on what was going on in that county, to help hospitals come back. So they should be doing the same thing here. And I believe that absolute numbers are not the best way to do it. I believe discretion is part of it. I again support the fact that we should continue to social distance, continue to test, continue to do all those things that keep everybody safe. We do have to worry about a spike in case, but we do have the hospital capacity. We meet those metrics. And so if you fuzzy them up, if you fuzzy statistics up a little bit, sometimes you can get them to say what you want to say, and that's what concerns me.
Assemblyman Joe Giglio, I want to thank you very much for coming on. We always learn a lot when we have you on as a guest.
No, thank you, Brad. Thanks for having me. It's always great to talk.
Thank you so much. Assemblyman Joe Giglio with us this morning in this segment of Newsmaker. Stay with us for Dr. Gary Ostrower.
And now a word from the PKA Drake Agency. Are you